What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, we have a very important video when it comes to the offseason, whether that comes to trades, free agent signings, and even the 2022 NFL Draft, as we're going to be talking about a few ways that the New England Patriots can create more cap space for this upcoming offseason. Now, some of these ways are ways that I myself did research and found upon myself, and then others are ways that Pat's Cap on Twitter actually found upon himself and kind of went out on Twitter and described a few ways that the Patriots can create cap space. So I can't take credit rather for all of these ideas. Some of them do come from Pat's Cap himself, so make sure you guys do give him a follow over on Twitter. Now, New England is definitely going to have to do a lot of moves this offseason to actually create cap space. They're only going to be sitting about $2 to $3 million, which therefore in itself isn't even enough to re-sign the players you need to get re-signed, let alone head into the 2022 NFL Draft and sign free agents. With that obviously being said, do not expect the Patriots to address each and every single need that they need to this offseason. We're not going to be in the same place as we were a year ago, where the Patriots had, $60, $80 million to spend in free agency and had a ton of draft capital to spend in the draft. But if New England does get hard at work this offseason to create some cap space, they can get to $30 to $40 million in cap space, which is a decent amount to be able to go ahead and re-sign some of your pending free agents, but also make some adequate moves. Now, I'm not talking about Matt Judon, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith type moves like they did a year ago, but still some adequate moves. Now, the first one here is going to be extending right guard Shaq Mason to a one-year deal. Now, if New England does do this, they can save about $3.6 million in cap space. Now, if they cut him, they could actually save a lot more. They could save somewhere between $9 to $10 million. This is actually the top cut candidate for New England if they wanted to strictly save cap space. But I think that the value that Shaq Mason brings to this team highly outweighs the cap space that you're going to save by releasing him. I think that, quite honestly, you are going to have more questions about your team by straight up releasing him rather than if you just extending him a year and save that 3.6 versus that 9 to 10 million. He's currently signed through the 2023 season, which would make him a free agent in 2024. So if New England does extend him to another one-year contract, that would put him as a free agent in 2025. Shaq Mason has been a reliable piece for the Patriots over the last several years since he was drafted by the team back in 2015. A guy who is easily one, if not the most underrated guards in the entire National Football League. A guy who deserves to be in a Pro Bowl, and surprised me that he hasn't even gotten a first or second team All-Pro at this point. Now, the next one here comes with Matt Judon. Now, New England can convert Matthew Judon's salary for this upcoming season into his signing bonus and save about $6.6 million. I think that this would be a really good move by New England, and it would work out for both Matthew Judon and the Patriots. It's just a conversion, so they're not asking him to take a pay cut or anything. It's just money Matt Judon would get straight up versus it being his annual salary, that he would get yearly. This one really does just seem like a no-brainer to me, and in general, this offseason to create cap space, I don't really see New England releasing or cutting a lot of players, and I think that's going to be in mind for a lot of Pats fans, thinking that the team's just going to straight up start releasing a lot of players. I think that the better move for them to do, especially after coming off a year where they signed a plethora of free agents to arguably bigger contracts than they should have for guys like Jonnu Smith and Nelson Agholor, the best way to go about it to keep the talent on the team and free up some money is to kind of restructure contracts and to push money out into several more years rather than just releasing players. Now, next up is another move that I really like, and I'm really happy that Pat's Cap actually mentioned, because I wouldn't have even thought about this one, and that is to extend Hunter Henry one more year. And if New England does that, they save $5 million to their cap space this year. Now, Hunter Henry was one of the only bright spots for the Patriots offensively, I would say, this season. And you look at the free agents that they had, and he was arguably the first or second most impressive free agent signing for the Patriots this offseason. We all know that Belichick has loved him ever since he was in high school, Belichick trying to recruit him. So it really surprised me when Belichick went out and signed Judon Smith to a much bigger contract and to a 4-year contract versus Hunter Henry, who only signed to a 3-year contract. Now, if you extend Hunter Henry through that 1 year, that would make his 3-year contract become a 4-year contract, and you keep him with Mac Jones throughout Mac Jones' rookie contract, which I think is really important because it seems like those two have already built a rapport together. Now, who knows what's going to happen with Judon Smith down the road. I don't really see them doing anything with him this offseason, but next offseason they could potentially do something with him if he doesn't make an impact the year after. But it seems like Hunter Henry is going to be a guy that the Patriots do want to stick around as their long-term starting tight end. Now, the next one is going to be to trade N'Keal Harry. You got to believe that N'Keal Harry at this point is going to be out of New England. Whether it's cut or trade, I mean, personally, I think the New England Patriots should trade him. They can actually create just a little bit more cap space if they trade him versus actually straight up releasing him due to a signing bonus. The team that he gets traded to would have to pay that signing bonus versus if he was cut, New England would have to pay that. But it definitely seems like N'Keal Harry's time in New England is done at this point. Now, if New England does trade him, whether it's before June 1st or after the June 1st deadline, they would save about $1 million. They're not going to save a lot. He is still on that rookie contract, but still that $1 million when you are so tight up against the cap can go a long way, especially for a guy that at this point isn't going to make any really sort of impact for you. Now, speaking of that 2019 draft, another way the Patriots could create a little bit of cap space, not much at all, but is to cut Judon Williams. Now, because Judon Williams was not a first-round pick, he actually doesn't have any signing bonus left, so it's really going to be the same effect whether New England decides to trade him or just straight up release him. And I don't really know how much value he was actually going to have on the trade market, so I just have them straight up releasing him. They can save about $503,000 in cap space, so about $500,000. Again, not a lot of money, but again, you kind of get what you get and will take what you can get anywhere at this point. And the Patriots were in a position this season where they didn't have a lot of depth at the cornerback position, and Judon Williams, 1, didn't take advantage of that opportunity, but 2, still didn't get called up all that much. The Patriots were more comfortable going with guys like D'Angelo Ross and even Miles Bryant over Judon Williams, which just goes to showcase that his time in New England really does seem like it can also be coming to an end. Why not save about $503,000 just by straight up releasing him this offseason and try to put that money towards somebody else that can make a much better impact for you? Now, speaking of yet again another free agent signing just a year ago, the New England Patriots can cut Henry Anderson, the defensive lineman, and save about $1.7 million. Now, Henry Anderson did go out with a season-ending injury for New England, only appeared in a total of 4 games for the team, didn't get in the rotation too much, only recorded a total of 3 tackles this season. The highest majority of defensive snaps that he got throughout those 4 weeks before getting injured was playing 25% of New England's defensive snaps in Week 2 against the Jets. He actually saw more time on special teams than he did on the actual defense, and he only saw a high percentage on special teams Week 2 also, with 36% of special team snaps. Now, Henry Anderson was signed to a 2-year deal, meaning that he is still signed for this upcoming season. He will be in his contract season But it doesn't seem like he's really going to make too much of an impact. It didn't seem like he was making much of an impact in training camp. Didn't seem like he was doing too much in the preseason also. New England really kept him out there for the majority of those games in the preseason. And then obviously not making really much of any impact throughout the 4 weeks that he played in the 2021 season. So I think cutting him and saving that $1.7 million is definitely a high chance here for the Patriots to make this offseason. Now, next up here is to extend one of the Patriots' free agent signings that they had just a year ago. That is going to be extending defensive tackle Davon Godchaux to a 1-year deal, which can save them about $2.7 million. Now, Davon Godchaux was a guy that some people will say had an excellent season, some people will say had a bad season. I would say it started off slow, but he progressively got better for New England as each week and the season progressed. Now, for starters, he was the Patriots' best run stopper. There was actually a point where he was a top 3 run stopper in the NFL. And overall was the Patriots' second best defensive tackle, or second highest graded defensive tackle in 2021, just behind Patriots rookie defensive tackle Christian Barmore, meaning that he even played better than Lawrence Guy. Now, Godchaux will also be in his contract year for New England too. He's a candidate that I think would be extended at the end of the 2022 season anyway, as long as he didn't regress in 2022. So, got to imagine that New England does look to extend him to that 1-year deal and maybe even relook at the contract of Lawrence Guy. Now, next and final one is one that I haven't really heard anybody talk about, but I think that should definitely be a move that New England looks to do this offseason, and that is to extend Jonathan Jones. Now, if New England extends Jonathan Jones this offseason, they'll create about $3.4 million in cap space. It also goes to mention that Jonathan Jones is in contract year. Now, we saw when Jonathan Jones went out with his season-ending injury this year how much it affected New England, especially in the slot. Now, Jonathan Jones has been a top 3 player the last few seasons when it comes to defensive backs defending the slot, playing nickelback. Not to mention the fact that he is one of the Patriots' fastest players on the entire roster and is the fastest player on defense. And we're talking about the Patriots getting faster as a unit, getting faster on offense, getting faster on defense. You want to retain a guy like Jonathan Jones, who is one of the best at his respective position and brings nothing but speed. You already have a lot of question marks within your secondary. Let's not push those question marks into following years. Extend Jonathan Jones and save about $3.4 million. Now, if New England does all of these moves alone, and there is other moves that New England could make, so if you guys would like to see a part 2 of this video, please make sure you guys let me know in the comment section below and leave a big like on this video so I'll know you guys do want to see a part 2. But if New England does all of these moves that I mentioned in this video, they can save about $24.5 million. And like I mentioned, there is still other moves that they could potentially make. Now, before we end this video, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of the video and the sponsors of the channel, betonline.ag. BetOnline would like to wish you guys a happy new year and a new betting year at that as they continue to match the playoffs and the Super Bowl. BetOnline remains to be the #1 spot for all the best sports wagerings actions for 2022. Not only are we in a new year, but also a new updated desktop and mobile website that you guys can sign up to today and receive a 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code CLNS50 to get started. From football to basketball to boxing, even right to UFC and favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers still available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, the fastest and the easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, and BetOnline, where the game starts. But these are going to be a few ways that New England can save some cap space for the 2022 offseason. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Is there anything that you think I missed? And if you want to see a part 2, like I mentioned earlier, let me know in the comment section below and leave a big like on this video. Like always, though, I appreciate you guys for watching this one. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, but like always, go Pats.